Hi clay friends, I'm going to sculpt a monkey face today. One of the things I like about sculpting animals is it's fun to pick a new animal that maybe you don't know very much about, and by looking at him closely to sculpt him, you end up learning a lot about the animal. And this guy is really cute. I like him a lot. Look at those big eyes. I thought he would be fun to, how can you look at him and not laugh? So I thought he would be fun to sculpt today. The book that I'm using, if you're interested, it's called Photo Arc, and it's got great pictures of animals. So that's what we're going to use for our reference today. He's called a gray-tailed mustache monkey, if you're interested. Not a very big monkey. The males are about 15 pounds, and they live in Africa. So that's what we're going to go for today. And I'm not going to use very much clay. And I'm using red clay today. It doesn't matter if you're using red clay or white clay. The red clay has a little bit of iron in it. But for the April animals, it doesn't matter, because when we're done, we're going to smash it back up into a ball and make it into a different animal tomorrow. So for our monkey face, I'm just starting with a ball, something that comfortably fits inside of your hand. Absolutely doesn't need to be a big piece at all. And I'm going to use a pinch pot method to get started a little bit. So I'm going to take my thumb, press it down into the middle, and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I'm rotating and squeezing, so squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn. Now on this particular pinch pot, because I'm making a monkey face, kind of a mask style monkey face, I'm gonna stretch it out wider than I normally do for a pinch pot. So I'm doing squeeze and turn, but I'm pulling it wider than I normally do. So while I work on that, I'll talk a little bit about the tools that we're going to use today. Again, I'm trying to keep this as limited as I can and try to keep it restricted to tools that you can find at home around the house. So today, I think what I'm going to use are my old toothbrush. Make sure it's not your regular toothbrush. Old toothbrush is going to be great and helpful. And then again, this skewer, so any sort of a sharp stick type tool, or if you need to, you can use like a paper clip that you unfold, and it will be helpful, not necessary, but helpful if you have a paintbrush. In particular, actually what I'm going to use more than this end of the paintbrush is, if you look at this end of the paintbrush, I'm going to use that for the eyes. So if you can find anything that has this kind of shape on it, you'll find that helpful later. I'll just show you on here what it's going to do. So when you press that in, it helps you make pupils in the eye. So I'm using the wrong end of the paintbrush. If you don't have that around, don't worry, I'm going to show you another method too. The other option is just to use the eraser end of a pencil. So if you can't find a paintbrush like that, just take when we get to the eyeball, you can just take the eraser end and use that for a pupil. Okay, so got my pinch pot going on here, and it's about this wide. And about at this point, I start to look at it and I start to imagine the monkey face. They come out a little bit right here. So the nice thing about using this method is you can reach in from the inside and just stretch it out, this lower area where the mouth is going to go, and start to get it shaped really quickly. This project can come together pretty darn quick. So right now, when we're working with sculpture, we always start with just the big shape first. We don't worry about the little details till the very end. So I'm worried about the shape. So if you look at the profile of this, there we go, you can see I'm starting to push out this lower part where the mouth is going to be. And again, if your clay starts to crack too much, you can just dip your finger in water. We always keep a cup of water handy. That's just going to always be there for all of our projects. So dip your finger in the water and you can smooth the cracks over. But we don't want it to be smooth yet, because we're going to change this a lot anyway. So we're not worried about really smoothing it off. Okay, so we can just set it down flat to work with it. So this little guy really doesn't have much in the way of lips at all. And if you want to, while you work on this, you can Google the gray-tailed mustache monkey and print a picture of it. Or you can just, you can choose any monkey that you want and follow along. This is kind of, the shape will work for any monkey that you want to make. Okay, so this little guy doesn't have much in the way of a mouth. So normally I put lips on animals, but he doesn't even need a lip. Right now, I'm just gonna mark where his mouth goes. So I'm just gonna make a little mark down here to indicate, and he does have a little bit of a smile. Not many animals have a smile, but this little guy is definitely smiling. So I have a little mark there to mark where the mouth is gonna go. And I'm gonna put his nose on first. So for this little guy, he has a pretty thin nose. Our noses stick out quite a bit, but this little monkey's nose does not stick out very much at all. So I'm smoothing off this, kind of shaping this upper lip area before I put the nose on. I also want to show you something in the picture here. So I'm working on this lip area, and it's not rounded, it's actually kind of a triangle. He's got some pretty big indents here where his cheeks go, and that's partly why he looks like he's smiling. I think he's got big chubby cheeks there coming up. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a triangle shape coming down here. So this is where I've marked. Let's get this light lined up a little bit better here. This is the mark for the lips, and this is the upper lip area. So I'm pressing and kind of forming a triangle here. Triangle. And then we're going to put the nose right in here. So for the nose, I'm just going to take a little coil, and I'm rolling it into kind of a carrot shape. Again, I'm putting more pressure on one end. So it's skinny at one end, and that's the part that's going to connect between his eyes. So we'll put the top of the skinny end at the top of the carrot there, and then this lower end we're going to pinch off and blend in and give him some nostrils. So we're just going to, it's a little bit too long, so we'll just pinch it off a little bit. Okay, so we are sticking this nose right here. We're just kind of blending that in. So you'll take clay from both sides of the nose and just use your fingers to blend it and drag it onto the rest of the face there, and that's going to attach it. I'm just blending, blending, blending. This clay is really, really wet, and so we don't need to do any slipping and scoring at this point yet because this clay is so wet. So I'm kind of flattening it out a little bit because, again, it's not very much of a nose at all. He's got a tiny little nose there. And then I'm going to go in with a skewer, the pointy end, and I'm going to form the nostrils. So you can barely even see our little nose here. He's got such a little nose, but the nostrils are what are going to stand out more than the actual nose. So we're going to go in and kind of form his nostrils. One nostril. So I'm kind of coming in sideways, you'll notice, because his nostrils are not rounded, they're sort of oval shape. So I'm coming in from the side a little bit. So you kind of see up his little nose there. So we've got nostrils, we've got a flat little nose. You can look at the profile and see that nose doesn't stick up much at all. It's just a little tiny nose there. Now we're going to jump up to the eyes, and that's the fun part on this guy. He has such big, big eyes. They're going to be really fun to work on. So I'm going to mark where the eyes are going to go. Now, with monkeys and humans too, we want to leave a lot up in the forehead. If you look at our eyes, go look in the mirror and look at where your eyes are. Look at how much of your head is above your eyes and how much of your head is below your eyes. Your eyes are usually around halfway. So a lot of times it's easy to start our sculpture and put the eyes way up high because we forget about the forehead part. But a lot of animals are the same. Their eyes are really about the middle of their face. So when we start marking the area that we're going to work on the eyes, we want to aim for the halfway point. And I'll show you back on the picture again. You'll notice that those eyes are right across from where the nose ends. So the nose kind of ends right the low point for the nose is right between the eyes. So we want to line that up too. So we're going to be about halfway up the face and make sure that it's lined up with the top of that nose. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of indent some eye sockets. So this is going to be the hole that we're going to put some eyeballs into, and then we're going to build some eyelids around that. And then another fun thing about monkeys, they have a really big brow line, so that's really fun to make too. All right, so this is what we've got so far. We have some eye sockets, we've got a nose, just got the little hint of the mouth there. So our eye sockets, we're going to build the eyes kind of the way that they are in real life. We are going to make some eyeballs and then some eyelids and work that all together. It helps if your clay's, you know, pretty soft for this. You don't want it gooey soft by any means, but we're going to roll 2 eyeballs. So we're just going to roll these little balls. And so if it's too sticky, it's not going to work. But if your clay's too hard, it's not going to work either. And little pro tip, if you roll both of the eyeballs at the same time, it's a lot easier to get them the same size. I have never been able to, if I put this in and make a whole eye, go back then, after one eye's done, go back and make the other eye match. It's really hard to make it match once you've already started on it. So I start with a couple, and these are going to be our eyeballs, so it's pretty small. You want to give a look at how it's going to look in the socket, and you can add or subtract. You don't, I mean, this guy does have really big eyes, but they don't stick out. They're not like bulging like some animals, like frogs and rabbits. Even a lot of their eyeball sticks out of their beyond their face, but this guy doesn't. His eyes are set well down in there, so we don't want him too big. We don't want him to look like a toad or a frog. Okay, so that's getting down there, getting closer. I'm gonna keep working these back and forth a little bit till I get them the same size. Take a little pinch off of one, add a little pinch to the other one. Okay, so these are my, just to give you an idea, these are my 2 eyeballs, close to the same size. And I'm just making sure that they fit okay in the eye socket. So we're gonna press it in. So by the time I press that in, they're not gonna bulge out too much. So we are gonna line them up in the eye socket. And you want to take a look from all different angles and make sure that they're level, kind of straight across from each other. So once we have them leveled out, we're going to gently work them down into that eye socket again, so that they're not sticking out too much. We don't want them sticking out there. We don't want a monkey that looks like he has frog eyes, or maybe we do. Maybe that'll be one of our other lessons, monkey frogs or frog monkeys. Maybe that's a real thing. I don't know. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, this is just the eyeball. So we've got our nose and those eyeballs straight across at the top of our nose. So now we're going to work on getting some eyelids around there. And for the eyelids, I like really soft clay. So it just takes a little tiny piece, not much at all, but you want pretty soft clay. Again, not gooey, but soft is good. I'm going to roll out a coil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press harder at both ends, one end like that, one end like that. So it's like a double tipped carrot or something. So we've got one tip there, one tip there. And I always put my lower eyelid on first, and I take the pointy end of my carrot and I line that up on the nose side of the eyeball there. So put this skinny end in, wrap that around the bottom of the eye, and then just pinch that off. And then same thing on the other side. I'm taking the pointy end of our carrot and I'm putting that in towards the nose. So I'm wrapping that around the eyeball and I'm going to pinch that off. And now I'm going to blend that in. What we're doing is just making the bottom eyelid, and it's really subtle. It's not, we're going to blend most of this in so you don't see much of it at all. And you can use like the rounded end of your toothbrush here, or you can use that skewer, or you can use your fingertips. Whatever you're more comfortable with, blending that in there. And I kind of go back and forth between my fingers and sometimes a tool like the end of the toothbrush that's smaller that can get in where my toothbrush can't quite reach here. Okay, so again, I'm not working on all the super fine details. I'm not making everything perfectly smooth yet because we're going to do a lot of adding to this. But you can see I just kind of blended and just left the indication kind of a lower eyelid there. And now we're going to take some more soft clay and roll out another carrot, another double-ended carrot. This one I'm going to make just a little bit bigger because it's going to be an upper eyelid, a little bit thicker, but not a lot thicker. So again, we've got our double-ended, oh, it kind of looks like a mustache, doesn't it? And it's a mustache monkey. So we're going to take the skinny end of the carrot again, and we're going to start with the skinny end towards the nose. So we're going to line that skinny end pointing to the nose and wrap that around and pinch it off. And then same thing over here, we're going to put the skinny end towards the nose and wrap this around and pinch it off. So it's starting to look like some eyes there, kind of starting to look like you can see nose, eyes coming together a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing with these upper lids now. Use, a finger or the end of your toothbrush, or you can use your skewer. But we're going to take it and we're going to, you want to push that coil right up to the eyeball. Right up close to that eyeball. And then we'll use our tool to blend the coil away. So all we're really leaving is that indication of an upper eyelid now. So we're just working on making it look like he's got an upper eyelid there. At my second eye. So this is our first one, and now I'm working on the second eye over here. Pulling that eyelid up, blending it in. Okay, so we've got two eyes here. We've got our nose. And this guy has, like most monkeys, a pretty strong brow line across here. And his kind of goes straight across. Most animals have some sort of something that looks like an eyebrow, and what it really is, there's a bone underneath there, and it protects your eye. So if you can feel up here, you've got a bone, and it sticks out farther than your eyeball, and that helps protect your eye. And a lot of animals have the same thing. So you'll notice they have like something that it looks like eyebrows, or sometimes just a bone that goes all the way across. And this guy has the brow that goes all the way across there. So we're going to take another coil. Lots of coils in this project. They don't need to be big at all. Okay, something about like that. And we're going to run it just right over where the eyes are, like this, and we're going to blend that in. So same thing, you can just use your finger or the toothbrush, any of your tools. And we're dragging some of the clay up and down to blend that in there. So I'm dragging the clay up, 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 up. And then I'm dragging some of the clay down in the other direction. And somewhere right about now, these critters usually start to come to life and start to look like whatever they're meant to look like. A lot of them, up until this point, they just look like a snake or something. I swear, so many animals, when I just start them out, they all look like they're going to be a snake. And again, I'm just dipping the tip of my toothbrush into a little bit of water to help blend this brow line in up here. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. We've got a little tiny nose, a little bit of a smile there, some eyeballs, a bit of a brow line. So one of the things I mentioned earlier with this monkey is he's got big cheeks right here. I think that's part of what makes him look so happy. So now that we've got our lower eyelids on there, we're gonna go back and make the coil again in that double-ended carrot shape again. So I'm rolling a coil with 2 pointy ends, and I do that, I'm just pressing down on each end to give it kind of that double-ended carrot look, or we can call it a mustache look. And I'm gonna put it, like, see this right here when you smile? You get this little piece of your cheek raises up. This guy's got that same little muscle underneath there. So I'm gonna take the carrot and point the skinny end of the carrot towards the nose and put that right under his eye there, and then pinch that off, like that. And same thing on the other side. I'm taking the skinny end and pointing it in towards the nose and putting it right underneath there. And that's his little smile muscle there. Same thing that we've been doing. I'm going to take the tip of my toothbrush, or you can use your finger, or you can use your skewer. But we want to blend that in there a little bit. Get it stuck on there really well. That's one side sort of blended on there. Now let's go blend the other side. So you can take a look through books or magazines or online and see if you find an animal that you like, that you're curious about. Maybe you didn't know a lot about that animal before, and you can take that and you can use the same pinch pot method and you can sculpt his face. And see what you learn about him by sculpting his face. When you sculpt a face like that, it really makes you look at the animal closely, and you feel like you know him a lot better after you've sculpted him once or twice. Feel like you learn a lot about him and his personality. And something else you'll notice, some of these projects, we're just using our imagination, pulling the pictures right out of our head for our projects, or sometimes we're looking at actual pictures of animals. So it's interesting to pay attention to the difference in your projects and see what you like better. Do you like the ones that are just out of your imagination? It's your own private kind of animal? Or do you like the ones that are a little bit more realistic and give you the chance to learn a little bit about animals? Everybody's a little bit different. Everybody prefers something a little bit different. So we talked a little bit more about how his mouth area, like when we smile too, you get kind of this triangle here. So I'm going to go back in and exaggerate that a little bit. I'm just using the wrong end of my toothbrush here. Kind of exaggerate and define his little mouth area there. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. And a really fun thing, I'll bring this picture around here. A really fun thing about this guy, he's kind of a hairy monkey. He's got some pretty long fur on there. So it's kind of fun to make some of the fur. I'll give you some tips to make clay look a little bit like fur. So yeah, check out how long. He's got just a teeny hint of an ear back there. You can barely see the ear. So we'll put on just a little hint of an ear, but there we're gonna make some long fluffy hair right through here. So the ears are straight across from the eyes, like humans. And since you can barely see them, we're just gonna put just a little hint of an ear. We're gonna kind of cover it up by fur, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be anything fancy at all, just a little hint of an ear. So this is just my little hint of an ear shape there. Same thing with the eyes. I'm going to make them both at once so that I can get them the same size. So I'll hold these guys up together, make sure they're about the same size. So I've got 2 little ears. I'm just going to press these on. So I'm just pressing these on right back there, out from the eyes or across from the eyes. And then we're going to kind of cover them up with this kind of furry hair stuff that we have going on. So that's why the ears don't have to be perfect. We're just giving that little hint of an ear, that there's an ear back there somewhere under all the fur. So for the fur, this is kind of a fun part for me anyway. I like it. You want some really wet clay. And so if you know you're going to do this project tomorrow, when you put your clay away today, you can add, like if you have a water spray bottle or something, or just flick some water on, but keep your clay plenty wet for this kind of project. So it's pretty wet. I just tear off little tiny pieces and start smearing it on. Now this guy happens to have some long hairs that come off his cheeks. So I'm gonna start down lower. His hairs get longer out farther, and then they get shorter as they get closer to the cheek. So I'm start by just kind of smearing some like clay volume on there. So I'm just kind of smearing some clay. Take out another piece and smear that on there. Then we're going to go over it with our toothbrush and our skewer and try and make it look a little bit more like hair. So right now we're just getting that volume there. The idea, and we'll take it right, his ears are almost all covered with his furry hair. So we're taking it right up to that ear, you're going to almost cover that up. And then he's got a hairy forehead too. So we're gonna add some, not quite as long, but we're gonna add some hair around his little forehead there too. All right, so right here, this is just adding some rough chunks of clay. Flip him around and put some rough chunks of clay over here, covering up the ear on this side, or most of the ear, not the whole ear. And then I'm going to go along the top here because he's got pretty long hair even along the top. Okay, so this is the volume. We've added just some big chunks, and now we're going to turn those chunks into something that looks a little bit more like hair. So I'm gonna start with the pointy end of my chopstick, and I'm gonna dip it in water a little bit, and then I'm gonna start blending this in and dragging it in towards the face. So in each of these little tufts of hair, I'm gonna start dragging in a little bit, and I'm pulling it in towards the face. And it also lays down those chunks a little bit, so it's not so obviously just big chunks of clay there. And kind of go both directions. He's got such a great face. I love working on animals that make me smile or laugh. And this guy, it's hard to look at this guy without smiling back at him because he's kind of just got a great smile. Okay, so far we've taken those tufts, those chunks of clay, like tufts of hair, and laid them down. We've started to put some texture on there with our skewer. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my toothbrush to make some different kind of textures. And I'm going to show you how to make that read like it's shorter hair or longer hair. So he's got pretty short hair actually around his mouth. So I'm going to take the toothbrush and I'm just going to tap, 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 tap with the brushes. So I'm just going to go tap, 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 tap. And it starts to make kind of this, it looks like short fur. So sometimes when, for like cats or dogs around their mouth, they've got really short fur. So this is a good technique for getting that kind of fur. And actually all the way up his nose, he's got really short fur up his nose. Okay, so we are going tap, tap, tap. Light on there a little bit better. Tap, 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 tap is how we're making this texture. And then we're gonna dip our toothbrush in a little bit of water, and not too much though. And we're gonna start to drag it out away from the face, and it's gonna leave more marks that look more like hair. We're gonna start to refine those chunks of clay, especially in around the face. We don't want a ton of water, so I'll dip it in water to get it a little bit wet, but then I tap it and get the excess off. So we're just kind of flicking it away from the face. And that starts to kind of develop our little furry friend here. And it's important to look at your critters from all different directions. I'm talking backwards a lot of the time, so it's a little bit harder, but it's important to hold it back and look from each side and see, does he need more hair on one side or the other side? Put this under the light here, put this light a little bit closer, but give you an idea kind of what our little monkey friend can look like. I've got one that's firmed up from a little bit earlier. So this guy's firmed up a little bit earlier. The only thing that's been added to this one that's not on that one, and I don't know if you can see very well, it's subtle, but in the middle of those eyes, there's pupils in there. And it's a little bit easier to do that if you let your critter firm up a little bit. Just let him dry until he feels about like a hard cheddar cheese, and then it's easier to put that pupil in there. If the clay is really gooey wet, it kind of just makes a muddy mess. So once he's firmed up, you can use either, if you can find something that looks like this, like I showed you earlier, or just the eraser end. So for this guy, I'll show you what he looks like, what it looks like to do the eraser end pupil. So you can decide where you want him looking to. Do you want him looking straight in? You can make him looking up, kind of rolling his eyes like, oh brother, are you kidding me? So what do you think on this one? Should we make him rolling his eyes a little bit? Okay, so we're just going to take the eraser end, roll it around, and I'm going to put it a little, rather than dead center like he's looking straight ahead, I'm going to put it up high a little bit and show you. You can tell me if you think it looks like he's giving me an eye roll or not. I'm supporting behind the head so I don't dent the eyeball. There, I don't know if that shows up in this light very well or not. What do you think? Let's fix the light a little bit so you can maybe see him a little bit better. There we go. Don't know if you can see him well enough to see if he's looks like he's rolling his eyes or not. But there we go. That is our monkey lesson. And like always, if you want to save this clay so you can make something else tomorrow, we're just gonna put him back in a ball and take our water, flick a little bit of water on it to keep it wet, take all of our scraps. We can ball that up and put it back in a plastic bag, and we'll make another animal with that tomorrow.